Hello, hello.
Hello.
Let's see. Two panelists. Ah,
Got
there we
it.
go. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Oh, shoot. That's me. Okay, now we're good. All right, cool. So this should be a fun one tonight.
Yeah.
I know. I gotta welcome everybody. You gotta see my new hat. It's from my nephew. This is his shooting team. This is
Oh, cool.
Crusher. He got it for me this today actually. So that was pretty cool.
That's awesome.
He's going for a state championship. He's doing really well with it. It's pretty awesome. So I'm pumped for him. So that is going to be awesome. And then we'll see if we're live. Amy, I'm learning some stuff. We might actually have before we start at 8. We might have like some little music going while we're doing it. So I think that'll be pretty cool. Like it'll be like a 5-minute delay ish, but it should be pretty sweet. But
cool.
All right, sweet. So let's get started. Tonight is kind of a cool topic. It has a lot of times when you're talking herbs and men's health, you're really talking about women's health as well in just a different form. So don't take this as just a one for dudes. We're going to talk about a lot of that, and like the different herbs and how many different actions they have. So when we do it, you're going to notice that we've talked about them before in a few different places, but there are some that we haven't talked before about. So it'll be pretty cool. So my first thing that we're going to talk about is a couple of things I researched. I would kind of do this. So we're going to go over like 4 different spots. This one we've known for a long time. Oh, by the way, if you hear a bunch of stuff, my family's getting all ready to pack and I'll go vacation in and do all this fun stuff. So you may hear some crazy, more chaotic than normal. So as we go. But anyway, so our first one that was in the research is electromagnetic frequencies. So EMFs for short. These are things like the computer screen, your phone, microwave, radio waves. Depends on how, like those different towers that you get. You have several ways that occurs. And what they found is that it creates, a lot of times if you have too much of it, you can have buildup of what they call free radicals. So free radicals are something you don't want in your body. They're like, I always think of them as like little things that your body doesn't like. And when your body isn't familiar with these little free radicals that are going around, then it becomes a problem that your immune system has to deal with. So then your immune system starts attacking, which then causes you to get, like various issues. So free radicals, a lot of cancers, a lot of those kind of things. And it's one of those where we're going to have more and more of that. There's no question about that as we go forward. So it's one of those things where you should watch yourself, especially on, cell phone time, screen time. Just make sure that we're doing that. There's chiropractic. We've known this for a long time, trying to find those different things out there that like help that. I may have found a guy. Sometimes it's a little woo-woo, but whatever helps at this point, right? So there's no like blocker of free radical, like EMFs necessarily, but if you can do yourself a favor, that is good. Let me do one other thing. I'll put a virtual background on. So where's my sweet one? All right, I'll do this just so if anybody flies behind me. They'll probably still come through. I don't know. I haven't seen them do that yet. But so anyway, so that was the first one. The other one that I love is getting rid of your desk and chair at work. A lot of times people don't realize that there was a 2016 study that said that sitting all day is worse than smoking ever will be. So with that in mind, think about the health benefits or the health negativity of smoking and add that when you have a sit down job, that is a big deal. So that's why you're seeing a ton of people start doing stuff. My office manager got a treadmill. I haven't asked her how it's working for her, actually. If you're on, Gina, at some point tonight, let me know. How did the treadmill work? And so she's got this like desk treadmill thing. This looks pretty cool. I don't know. I don't know how, if that would be something that would throw you off, like as you're working, those kind of things. So that one's a big one. Desk chair work, trying to stand, like do more walking, those kind of things during a day. That one's good. Here's one that's kind of interesting. So low iodine's always been a big problem. And one of the problems, if even supplementing the iodine and those kind of things, is that it's hard to determine like what your level of iodine is needed. So there's a few different tests. You can get a blood test. You can actually get there's a skin test out there. I haven't done a lot of research on that, but I know that can actually tell you. I'm going to probably do it after this, but a low iodine level is very hard to supplement correctly. So a lot of times people will take too much iodine or too little, those kind of things. One of the things is knowing what low iodine can do. And a lot of times that is a ton of thyroid issues. So that's why even medical looks at that quite a bit. One of the ways to increase a lot of that is looking at like good organic cheeses, sea vegetables, which is like sea cucumber, seaweed, those kind of things. Not in our diet necessarily. I don't know if I'd eat the seaweed out of like Lake Michigan or anything, but I would probably go, the Japanese culture has a lot more of this involved. Strawberries actually have a really good amount, and then yogurt. So those are 4 different options as far as like increasing your iodine via your diet, which is where you really want to put it if you can. So now the last one this week is called flavanols. Flavanols, when we have a lower amount of this is a part of a plant. Okay. So a lower amount of this leads to elder memory loss. Okay. So you don't really have to know what a flavanol is in the human body, but knowing that we don't get enough of this is something to pay attention to. So in memory loss, there's several that have these flavanols in them, and then that's what I want to go over. So quercetin, which is it's similar to quinine that I tell you guys about a lot. So quercetin has a lot of flavanols in it. So flavanols you can get in this supplement called quercetin or quinine. I don't know if it's in quinine as much, but the foods that you could actually start ingesting, and this is for almost prevention of memory loss, really, but it's parsley, red peppers, ginkgo biloba, right? And then celery. So those are some good ones that have high flavanol content. And that's another one, in our 1% tribe, we're looking for ways to live that way, right? So we're looking at the patterning and saying, okay, what can we add to our diet, if that's something. And we're going to talk a little bit about patterns today on subconscious program type situation. And one of the things to look at is your grandparents or your parents suffered with memory loss like that. So if they have, understand that you have a propensity maybe towards that subconscious program, and maybe it's something you start adding to your diet. So remember, parsley, red peppers, and ginkgo and celery are a few of those different ones. Okay, so now let's get into men's health. Let me see. Screen share. Man, this thing has there's like a whiteboard on there.
Oh,
That'd
that's
be
cool.
dangerous. Yeah, be dangerous for me to do, I'm sure. All right, let me see. And then slideshow. Okay. So, like we start each time, is nature needs no help, just no interference, right? So, we'll always talk about that. And today's is especially true. We're going to go through some things that a lot of times people don't think about as far as like we say men's health, but you're going to see you can do a lot for those men in your life. It's not just about, like understanding, having the man of the, understand that there's more to it. All right. So what we're going to go over is everyday supplements to boost men's health and your own. You'll see why. Foods that improve men's health, the foods that do, and this will help ladies as well. And then herbs that are common in men ailments. So what we're going to go over is a lot of times the number one causes of conditions in men are usually heart, bone arthritis, and actually hormone. And we'll talk about that. So as we go, and then some activities to put you on the right track. So those are what we're going through. Okay. So let's talk about the largest problem in all of men's health. This one is very interesting. It's hormonal imbalance, actually. It's the shocking truth that we don't talk about. One of the reasons that, and we're going to get a little uncomfy here, but number one reason that Viagra and those type of drugs are the number one drug in the world. Okay. Number one drug in the world. And we're going to talk about why that is occurring. The reason it's occurring is because we have a hormone imbalance in men. Men have a different ratio as far as testosterone and estrogen go. And what happens is the estrogen, let's say for the sake of argument, in a man, you would have 2-to-1 testosterone ratio. So let's say for every 2 testosterone little hormonal cells or chemicals, you'd have 1 estrogen. So 2-to-1, right? And then what happens over time with the various things that we'll go over is we end up with a 2-to-1.5, right? Or 2-to-1.7, because estrogen gets introduced into the system too much. And so what ends up happening is this ratio gets off, and it's not allowed to allow a man to express that testosterone estrogen ratio. Okay. So some of the things that we see this with, how does estrogen get into our system? That's weird. As we go, like, how does that happen? Well, it's very, very common. Tons of our processed chemicals are principally chemicals that increase that estrogen. That's one big one. Another one is we're going to talk about like meats that are hormone laden. So one of the things that you'll understand is if your testosterone estrogen is off, then what occurs a lot of times is if the more estrogen you have, the harder it is to like lose weight, let's say. So even in a woman, that's where this comes in here. So if a woman's estrogen and testosterone are off, so let's say these are not strict numbers, but let's say estrogen in a woman is 2-to-1 the other way, right? But now all of a sudden we have a bunch of meats and processed stuff that raise our estrogen level up. So it's 3-to-1 instead of 2-to-1, right? So what happens is you get these imbalances that way as well. The problem with both of those is estrogen is a super one. They figured this out in cows, where they inject estrogen into cows to do what? To fatten them, to increase the weight of them. Why? Because it adds pounds to those people, the pounds to the animals. Similar in a human. If your estrogen is too much in your body, the human body will start to accumulate fat over the top of it. And so that's one of the things. One of the weird things too is plastic. So like plastic bottles. That kind of becomes important as you go. We have a ton of like plastic things we drink out of, those kind of things. Plastics can be a big kicker in this as well, but mostly you're going to see it in the chemicals that we use to make food and the meats. Those are the two that we have to be really, really careful of, or else we get this object of this unbalanced ratio. So one of the things that I've learned, and one of the reasons I got into this herbalist stuff, is because of this exact thing. Once I saw this doctor, and we'll talk about him in a minute, when I saw him speaking, I thought there's just so much here that could help people, and that he was my first herbalist. He's really a PhD herbalist, but he went through the process, and we were looking at that. So what does a person do if they believe their estrogen testosterone ratio is off? And that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to limit so we're going to always look at the body needs no help, just no interference. So one of the ways to do that is to limit the ability of those estrogens to come in. So making sure our meats are not full of hormones. We're going to make sure those plastics are out of our lives a little bit more, finding, jugs that have certain, I don't know what the different plastics are. I should have researched that. There's certain plastics that are easier and better for you than others, right? And some cheaper plastics can leach into this water that you're doing. So that's why I always have metal stuff, as we go. And then the processed chemicals, what chemicals, a lot of high fructose corn syrups, those kind of things. And then there's herbs actually that help balance. And awesomely, tonight, you're going to learn about herbs that help encapsulate the extra estrogen and try to get rid of it. Okay. So that's pretty cool. All right. So we're going to go into the herbs and diet for hormone balance. Okay. So we're going to do that first, and then we'll go into the rest of them. So the herbs and diets for hormone balance. The first one is you've heard this ad nauseum probably, but kind of going towards a more heavy protein fat diet. But that protein and fat that you would be doing is really good organic meats, a lot of times grass fed is really good if you can find that, but trying to stay as clean as you can in your meats and your fats. Your fats are another one that it carries. So you want to make sure all of those different things, you're going to look at that protein rich diet. That can be super good. So those are some things to start with. Okay. So the next one is the hormone balance herbs. These are some that we've talked about one of them in a few episodes before, but cypress is a new one. Cypress is one of the little tricky ones that really does do a good job in not only balancing that estrogen testosterone level, but it also encapsulates all the extra estrogen. So think about this real quick. In medicine right now, the only answer to this is so let's go to a man. So you have a testosterone's 2, estrogen's 1. So now our estrogen level rises to 1.7. So now we're having issues that a man would have issues with, right? Some dysfunctions in certain areas of life, all those kind of things. So we have 2 to 1.7. The problem medically is now to fix this ratio, we add testosterone to it. So now instead of 2 to 1.7, now it's 2.7 to 1.7. Does that make sense? So now here's the problem. When we raise all those hormones up to the ceiling, what's the number one reason of all kinds of cancers and all these different things is a lot of hormone, right? We want as much hormone as the body needs, not adding stuff. So a good example is if you're not doing it for men, a lot of them will do testosterone shots, as they age. And one of the problems is you're increasing your testosterone level and not reducing your estrogen. So that stays the same. So now you have increased hormones of both. Well, we know if your body is balanced, then that increase creates problems. Okay. So that's where cypress is really good. Astragalus is fantastic for the immune system, all kinds of crazy stuff. Astragalus in this situation helps balance hormones as well. And this one called curcuma, don't even ask. So that I will not be able to say, but these are 3 to look for. And now what's cool about this is we actually, the guy that I met that has this line where you don't have to think about all these different herbs, we actually carry this line. It's Dr. Chi. So Dr. Chi, he's out of San Diego, California. He does fingernail and tongue analysis to figure out, your physical markers that you might have these different imbalances. So that's something Amy and I love, and that's why we got into the herbal piece, because of how many people we can help with stuff. This is something that I take on a regular basis. There's supplements out there that have a lot of this stuff in there. Okay. So, and then in our herbal world, there's this thing called adaptogens. Adaptogens are basically what they say. They try to adapt your body and balance it out with all the different stresses of the world. So you can, of course, have hormonal changes like in different stresses that occur throughout your day too. And so that is another one that this helps kind of regulate the stresses, which would lead to a hormone imbalance. So Panax ginseng is really good. Rhodiola is fantastic. And there's a ton after that. So these are some major adaptogens, like just getting a ginseng tea, a rhodiola one. Now that you know what that is, another tea, you can start adding that to your daily, routine. As far as those are, it's very common. Astragalus tea is another one that can be extremely common to get, but just even as a tea instead of a supplement. Tinctures are great, all those kind of things. But for just general health, like you don't have a problem maybe, but you'd like to not have a problem, these are some things to add. All right. So now the other one that we see a lot. So, and a lot of this, I'm going to preface it first by saying this is probably something, if we are in this cardiovascular area, you'd probably want to come in and talk to us before you jump on doing a lot of these. Most of the ones I've listed, you'd feel pretty comfy doing. There's more powerful ones that you almost have to have a doctor kind of walk you through. Okay. So understand some of the power of this stuff is really, really good. And it also means a lot, as you go. So cardiovascular herbs, Corydalis. No one said I had to understand or say it correctly. That is for sure. But this one's really cool because it does the heart muscle strength, which is not one that a lot of people think about. I wanted to put it on there because it was fascinating that there is an herb that kind of helps the muscle of your heart, which can be a big deal, as we go. Vascular tonics, when you're talking about a tonic, you're talking about things good for the whole circulation, which I love. There's another one, I didn't put it on there. Darn it. So resveratrol is another good one. That is found in grapes. So when they say wine is good for you, it's really not. It's the grapes of the wine are good for you. So that's fantastic. Blueberries, which is awesome because that's about to hit in Michigan. If it hasn't already, man, if you're not from Michigan and you're watching, we get the best damn blueberries. Oh, it's ridiculous. So blueberries, bilberries, and cranberries, hawthorn, ginkgo, and an interesting one that I've been experimenting with is pycnogenol. Pycnogenol has a really big side of the veins. And so It's a supplement you can use for like for whatever reason it has an affinity towards the veins. And in herbal, I was always looking for something for that because there's a lot of vein problems like as we age too. So I've been working with that one quite a bit. I actually have a patient on it and it helped her tremendously. So I'm pretty pumped about that. So that one's pretty cool. Cholesterol is an interesting one. These three, artichoke leaf, fish oil, and amla fruit, have a really good, they do a really good job. Amla fruit's interesting because it hits both sides, the HDL and LDL, like the high, the bad cholesterol, good cholesterol, and it kind of does a balancing act with that number. And so these are some good ones to kind of start in that direction too. Fish oil, I would recommend that to everybody taking each day. That should come with our vitamin A, C, D, E, the VASES. Remember that one? The zinc, those, or I'm sorry, zinc, ZASES, vitamin or zinc, vitamin A, C, E, selenium, vitamin D, and a fish oil would be an amazing beginning of your day, and a multivitamin. God, I'm adding so much stuff, but that's okay. That's how it rolls. So blood pressure is a good one. Hibiscus is a great one. Beetroot, you can't go wrong with beets. When I saw that on this is one I will agree with the infomercial. There are some really good beets. I don't know if I'd pay as much as the one on the infomercial. There's like a lot of different supplements you can get, but even getting a beet supplement is awesome. And hawthorn. So, and we're going to go into kind of like Corey Dalis, heart muscle strength again. There's salvia, carthamus, and then these two, peonia and licus something. Okay, so those are all really, really good as well. A lot of good stuff in there. So I would say there's so much for the cardiovascular and herbal actions that this would be a really good conversation to have, like, in the office with Amy or I, just to see what you have going on. So just let you know it's there. Okay, so here's the other one a lot of people talk about. This one's really good as well. So prostate herbs, and a lot of these switch prostate with UTI or other things in females. So understand it does the same. Okay, so a lot of times you're going to have a really good effect no matter what. These are all going to have that same effect. The biggest thing is the studies are so big on saw palmetto for the prostate and the benefits of that. That should be a staple for every man over 40, basically. So saw palmetto is fantastic for those areas, the prostate and the testes, right? And so as we go, citrus reticulata, good anti-inflammatory, actually helps increase urine output, which is pretty cool. That was new for me. And a lot of these, when I bring them up, these crazy named ones, a lot of them we actually have supplementation that we can order for you through Dr. Chi, because he had done all this research on those kind of things. And that's one of those. The citrus reticulata for sure is in one of the ones that it's called prostate chi. He doesn't mess around. He just puts it on there. And so philodendron is good for UTIs, infection, and prostatitis. Romania 6. Romania, which is also a major Chinese medicine herb. It's called Romania 6, is fantastic for urinary anything. We talked about that in the urinary herbs. Tons of information on reishi. The mushrooms in general are becoming really, really popular. So I can't wait to learn more about that. That's going to be my next step in understanding the various chemicals of the mushrooms and how they interact. And then nettle root is a big one. So like if I had a per patient come in that had an enlarged prostate, the two that I would actually do first, saw palmetto and maybe nettle root as a tea. So those are two options that you can go. And very good effectiveness, especially saw palmetto and nettle root together. There's a ton of studies on that. So that's pretty cool. All right, low libido. Another one to add. I wanted to throw that one in there. It's Panis ginseng. All those different ginsengs are fantastic for that type of situation. All right. Let me move this real quick. So now that we've gone through there, Amy, have you had any questions on? Okay.
No, it's crazy how so many herbs, like several of them that you were talking about are ones that we've talked about for different things. So it's cool that they're used for, they're common, common herbs for to treat so many different things.
Exactly. Like, and one of the neat things is like where you're talking just generally instead of looking at like, and that's why I love the 1% tribe concept. So when you're looking at general, it doesn't mean you have to have a problem in that area. But let's say we understand our history of our programs that we learned as kids, right? So we watch somebody struggle through these different things, the prostate, the whatever. This is going to give you that one leg up that says, okay, I'm going to give my body what it needs prior to those things happening, right? Because as so many people, we don't pay attention, which is okay. You're not going to pay attention to something that's not hurting, right? But this allows you to kind of get one up and almost not ever have to think about it, right? So I think that's pretty cool. So this is where it gets interesting because what we need to do in men's health, and it's just so funny. I ended up on Father's Day. That's pretty cool. I didn't even plan this, people. That is not the thing. We did not do this, but it's perfect. So happy Father's Day to everybody out there. That's awesome. But dudes don't take care of themselves, not because they don't want to. It is because of their subconscious program. Okay. So a lot of times they have learned not to take care of themselves. If you look at their history, you can almost guarantee that their father didn't take care of themselves, or, that list goes on and on and on. When that occurs, how do we do this without, like, how do we help these people, help the men in your life, right? So one of the things, men learn to suck it up and do until things aren't working at all, right? And so that's typically when doctors are there only when it gets so bad that we have some major issues, right? And so that is it's a tough program to beat when your grandpa did that, your father did that, and your mom was always the one maybe taking you to the doctor, right? Let's say as a son, your mom was constantly taking you, but you watch your dad not do that, right? So that created a subconscious program that would say, okay, maybe we, like as you go in your health, there's got to be a different way. And I believe that men have a propensity to do more. If we want to change this for them, it's going to be everyday small things. And I really believe that. I think if they're really good at, like, let's say working out, if they get into that mode. So why not hit it there where we're hitting it prior to showing them what this can do for them. And that's why the estrogen, testosterone, I love starting with that concept. And that's like, could be a lot of my guys' first herbal journey, actually, because a lot of times people, they don't want to feel like that. They want to feel like the testosterone balanced man that they are, right? And then when they're not, that really starts adding this depression in there. So these are a couple of the subconscious. Amy and I were talking about, hopefully I can explain this pretty good. So in a lot of these subconscious programs, they are attached to emotions. And some of the emotions that these areas are attached to are in the heart area was joy, right? So when somebody struggles, maybe, and this is just a maybe, it does not mean, because you could be a joyful person, but still have the wrong subconscious program, right? And it causes a heart condition. Does that make sense? So this is just one of the three. Remember, there's always three potential causes of something. You have thoughts, toxins, trauma. Okay. So thoughts could be the joy, like lack of joy. Let's say you learn from your father that work sucks, and you're gonna like go out and do the exact same thing, and you knew work sucked for him, so it has to suck for you, right? So that's how subconscious program kind of runs. There's toxins, so there's thoughts, toxins. You could have like what we talked about. We could be eating the wrong kinds of meat that's all hormone related, and that causes an imbalance. Or you can have trauma. So you could have something physically happen to you that would cause your heart to have issues, right? So those are all different things, but these are just ideas. It doesn't mean you have a problem with joy. It doesn't mean that. It just means look at it. You never know. Maybe it's something we could work on. Okay. Losing power is the prostate. So losing power, what I mean by that, and I heard a good video the other day, and I wish I could have put it on here, but it was an old man. He was about 87 years old. And one of the things that he was sitting in a chair, and he was like, what's the secret of life? Because him and his wife, he goes, the one thing that she does is she always needs me for something, right? So she loves kind of patting that guy on the back because he's needed, right? And guys kind of have this inherent this program that they need to be needed. Okay. And once that need goes away, let's say they retire and you don't have to do as much. Let's say you retire and you move into an apartment, and now all of a sudden you don't have to mow, you don't have to do anything, right? That is a loss of power for a man. They need to actually feel that need of something. And so a lot of times we complain about it all the time, but we really need it. Does that make sense? It's just part of that inherent, who we are as far as that goes. So a lot of times you'll see that as one of the major causes of maybe a prostate issue, but it doesn't have to be the only one. So just, it's a thinking point. It's a point where it could be something else, but it's not bad to take a look at. Okay. Oh, wait. All right. Before we go on to that, this is where I wanted to add Amy to it, because I asked her to do so. So Amy is bringing to our office a way to help those subconscious programs, not only in the herb category, but now we're actually going to be able to hit the whole body and the whole mind and spirit. It's going to be fantastic. So I had Amy look up basically hormone imbalance, essentially. Because we were trying to figure out where that stands. So what did you find?
Well, I didn't find anything like for estrogen, testosterone. For women, there's lots of stuff under for your ovaries and uterus. And for men, there's definitely heart stuff, prostate. But there's also a whole section about erectile dysfunction. Well, in here they refer to it as impotence, same thing. But
okay. So understand when Amy tells you this, impotence is the only reason that occurs. I'm telling you right now, is that testosterone, estrogen level are off. That ratio is messed up. And because it's messed up, that's where that comes from. So when she comes through, this is what we're looking at. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So as far as your subconscious mind goes, I mean, it's like a page and a half, which some of these are so interesting. So I, of course, won't read it all, but Oh, let's see. It's often related to the fear of trustfully giving or abandoning myself to a woman or losing control over myself or with the other person. I am afraid of being vulnerable, so intimacy intimidates me. Um, they talk about decline, like if a man is retiring, he's feeling in decline, depreciating himself as he's no longer has the opportunity to surpass himself at work. He's no longer needed.
Okay.
Oh, it talks about previous love relationships that that you may have failed at, may have found humiliating. At the end of all this book that I'm reading this out of, it always has positive affirmations. And part of it is I accept to define my place, to make contact with my emotions and let go of my control so that the energy can freely circulate through my body instead of staying in my head to bring physical and mental relaxation. It has to do with being aware of your true worth as a person, not your sexuality.
Yep. It makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of those things add to kind of what is happening there. Now, the coolest part of what Amy does is we can separate ourselves from that. It doesn't mean anybody's bad. It doesn't mean any of those things. But imagine if you actually had an answer. I'm going to tell you guys, it's going to make you laugh so hard. Okay. So when I met Dr. Chi is that fingernail and tongue analysis guy out of San Diego. So I meet him personally. He's my other guy that kind of inspired the herbalism because we just hit it off so well. And he has broken English, right? So we were at a chiropractic seminar and all these doctors are sitting down to have him evaluate. And so he does it a different way. He does fingernail tongue analysis. I'm getting better at it each time. It's part of the herbal coaching patterns as well. But as we go, he is seeing all these doctors. So there's several doctors in line. So the guy before me, this is so funny. I probably shouldn't say it, but I'm going to anyway, because it's worth it. So the guy before me is an older chiropractor, and he's there, and Dr. Chi starts evaluating him, and he really sits down. He goes, Dr. Chi, I want to talk about my wife. And Dr. Chi goes, no, she's not here. I would talk about you. And he goes, well, can I ask you questions about my wife? He's like, yeah, sure, but I'm gonna find out what's going on with you. So he starts going into this stuff with his wife and those kind of things. So then so as he's doing that, he goes, oh, I don't know about your wife. After the guy's done talking, he was like, pretty much, he goes, I don't know. She's not here, so I can't evaluate her. But he looks at the guy, the older man, and I'm sitting right next to, like, literally the chair next to him. So he goes, hey, is your pee-pee not go up in the morning? And the guy's 76 years old. Okay. So he looks at me, and I'm going, hey, I didn't get that question asked. So he looks at him, and he goes, well, no, I'm 76 years old. He goes, no excuse. He's like, your estrogen, your levels are off. He goes, you take this supplement, when your pee-pee go up in the morning, you take enough. It was one of my favorite stories. I was sitting there going, dang, that was really good. Like he said, right? Because it's what we're doing in this stuff is when we get you into these type of herbal supplements and getting you up there, we want to see that result. That is all that I'm interested in. We want to see that next step. And like what Amy just said, that's a big next step if that is one of our problems, right? So we have to look at all of it. And that's one of the big things that, like if we can do it. So my advice this week this week on Father's Day would be to go to that man that you love, or, those, whatever that is, say attaboy, like that kind of thing. That'd be awesome. And then talk to him about this one's good for your heart. This one's good for this, right? Remember how grandpa had a prostate issue? Saw palmetto might be a thing you might want to take every day. People are interested in that stuff. And so now you have that, as you go. So, so like at our last slide, what are we going to do? All right. Oops, that's not supposed to be there. All right. Figure out what personality environment you're. I don't know. That must have been a different. How did I miss that? Okay. That was from a different show. All right. So the next one is finding the good supplement. We have some great options at the office. Figuring out what's right for you, because a lot of those herbs are really tough to find individually. So you have to kind of do some digging, but we can help you with that. Look at your diet. Started looking at taking out those hormone-rich meats, changing up those plastics. Remember all of those kind of things, and chemicals, right? So watching the chemicals that can increase your estrogen. That's the big one. And that goes for women too. The big way you can tell the hormone imbalance in women is they can't lose weight. Guaranteed, almost 100% of the time. They get stuck. They used to lose weight very easily. Now their estrogen level's high, and so they are not able to lose weight very easily at all. All right. So, and then maybe checking out the subconscious and just making sure that they're doing okay. Like where they feel the need, they feel that want, they get that attaboy. Those kind of things will help out tremendously. So, all right, that's it. Woo! I knew this was going to be a long one. I'm sorry, Amy.
It's all right.
That's right. So, do you have any questions on it?
No.
Okay, cool.
Good.
Cool. Yeah. So next week, what are we doing next week? Oh, we're doing the hip. So that'll be kind of interesting. So that one, lot there. So we'll be doing the hip in the chiropractic sense of the word, also, like all the different movements and stuff. So yeah, that's all we have for tonight. If you have any questions for either of us, though, either reach out. Some of you, if you're on the Substack, you can actually reach out through there. It has an email and everything. I've seen it a couple times, so you can ask questions through that. Or even on the Facebook, if you watch the replay and have some questions, hit that Facebook up. It'll notify me of like what the question you have is, and we can go from there. So, Amy, you got any closing words?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, enjoy the rest of your night and have a good one.